Okay, we are live again. It's been a little while. I have been traveling and taking some time off. Um, I think that's important. We are going to talk about something that I have touched upon a few times before. It's this often referred to as anti intellectualism. And we see it expressed in quite frequently. And more and more, I would say, it has become more and more accepted. Um, to hate the thinking man. Now, I should say also the thinking woman, but well, um, too late to change that now. Um, okay. Orochi Fox says first, yes, I believe you were the first here in the chat. Leslie Bevan, Nuke World from Australia. Angela, good to have a moderator here. Diablo, Mr. Sorpos. And someone from Bjorndal in Oslo, not so far away from where I live, actually. Wonderful. Good to see you all. It's a beautiful spring morning, and I've been out taking a little walk already. Tore from Tønsberg, across the fjord. Okay, let's get to the topic here. Now, as I said before, Isaac Asimov, he wrote back in was that the 70s, quite a famous article about the American anti-intellectualism. And recently we have seen the same contempt, because that's what it is, a contempt for the idea of going to university, or as they say in the USOA, college. It's a waste of time, and they are all woke, and go to trade school instead. And this talking down of going to choosing higher education. Now, as I've said before, that's a stupid thing to do. Also, if your passion is some kind of craft, probably trade school is the right path for you. But there are, like, if you have a more intellectual mind, college and university is probably what you will enjoy the most. So we're all different, and it's good that there are different options for us, because it has not always been like that. We do not need to go very far back in human history before we see that it was only the very rich that got to send their kids to school. I mean, literacy is a modern thing. People couldn't even read and write. And even worse, it was even worse for girls, of course. So having access to education, having access to learning, to getting into the process of learning, is something that we should not forget how extremely valuable that is. We shouldn't take it for granted. And I believe that the Scandinavian model, well, it's not only Scandinavian, of course, but I mean, can we say European model, at least Western European? Well, the model where you view education, offering education for cheap, to the people in your nation, that's a good investment. It's like we view it as building roads. It's an investment for the future. Now, what people will say is that, of course, oh, they go to university and they study gender, what's it called? Um, well, useless stuff, you know. Well, to that I will say that there are some things that seems kind of useless, um, but who am I to judge? You know, we do not know what will be important in the future. But anyway, so that's one part of it. The other part of it is the idea that everyone is an expert, or rather, the idea that since I watched this podcaster talk about, or listened to this podcaster talk about some an issue, then now I'm an expert because I can parrot his um, opinion. So now I'm an expert, and my ignorance, as Isaac Asimov said, it's the attitude that my ignorance has equal worth to your knowledge. This idea. And that's a dangerous idea. Now, what we are seeing, and I'm going to have to point at, I'm sorry, I am really sorry, but I'm going to have to point at the United States of America, because it has always had an anti-intellectualist streak, and I think that that has to do with the history. People coming there from class system nations in Europe to build a better future for themselves. And the idea is that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't. I mean, it's difficult to explain, and maybe I shouldn't spend much time explaining it. But what we're seeing in the USA is a contempt for the idea of gaining knowledge, which is ironic because the USA has been in the forefront of technological innovation. But now under Trump, I looked at some numbers and people are leaving. I mean, people are leaving because they do not see the current regime as friendly towards knowledge-based innovation. And that should worry people in the USA. It might be a good thing for other nations because they will now have access to that. There is something called brain flight or something like that. No, that's not it. Brain. When the highly educated people are leaving the nation, you've seen it in India, for instance, and that's what we are seeing in the USA now under the current regime, which is not, it's not a good thing. And we're seeing that a brain drain. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Where the people who would contribute to innovation, they leave the country because they are there are better options for them in other countries. And where was I? Yeah, so the education and now also brain drain. Yes, of course. What historically has been the case is that you have an ideology, a dogmatic way of thinking or not thinking, like, for instance, communism or a religion, replacing the innovation, replacing the intellectualism. So whenever you see people in positions of power promoting the idea and that we don't need, we promoting the anti-intellectualist agenda. When we see that, there is reason to worry, because there is nothing new about it. It seems to be something that dictators really want. It seems to be something that, I mean, it's a dumbing down of people. You need people to be just educated enough to operate the machines, but not so educated that they will start questioning the current regime. Is this happening in the USA now? It looks like that from the outside, but I'm not in the USA, so I'm not 100% certain. Yeah. I also need to add to this that I'm not like having a go at the right-wing people with a right-wing political affiliation. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I see the same, as I said before, I have up until recently been watching some left-leaning talking heads, and it's equally painful. But they have other things that they are. They have the thing where the transgender, they're obsessed with that. Equally, they are as obsessed with the transgender issue as this little Jewish guy. I can't remember his name. Seems to be a thing. And I'm like, can't people just live their life the way they want to, as long as they're not harming anyone? And that it's not really something I think about much. Ben Shapiro, yes. So I forgot my train of thought. Why is it called a train of thought? But anyway, yeah. So so basically, yeah, we have one here now. Benny Ocean says, and I'm going to arrest you on this one, Benny. A few points, says Benny. Intellectualism does not require college. Information is free on the internet now. Okay, let me comment on that. It is very difficult to learn the method if you do not learn that method in some kind of school, because the whole point of, I mean, the methodology of studying and gathering knowledge is not really something that you can just take out of thin air. You can't go on the internet without knowing what you're doing, and most people, they fucking don't. You can't go on the internet and just read stuff and expect that that's the same as an education in a university. It just isn't. Because you will not have the ability of critical thinking. Critical thinking is not just an idea, it's a skill, and it takes years to develop that skill. Benny says also, 2 Americans usually have to go deep in debt for degrees. Yes, that's a shame. I think it's unwise. I think, as I said, it's as important as building roads. It's an investment for the future. 3, those degrees aren't paying off for many. For some, I guess you are correct in that. But the thing is, without a higher education, you're stuck. And this is something that people need to understand. If you go to trade school and you become, for instance, a plumber, you're going to have to be a plumber. That's your job. If you go to university and you get a master's or even a PhD in I'm going to provoke some people here now, philosophy. You will be sought after, and I have proper numbers on this. You will be sought after by big corporations mainly. So if you don't want to work in big corporations, maybe that's not what you should do. But and you can, there's like a wide range of jobs for you. So this is something that people need to understand. If you go to university and you get a master's in economy, there's a wide range of things you can do. Masters in engineering, and so on and so on. Okay, so I am against a system where you have to pay for higher education. And I pay a lot of taxes, too much, but that's something I would gladly pay for. Because I think it's important. It's an important investment. You don't know if that kid over there, if that kid is given, maybe that kid comes from a poor family. If you give that kid the ability to go to university, maybe that's the kid, that's the person who will find a cure for cancer. And if only people who can afford it get a higher education, if that's what they want, then you are depriving the nation of talent, right? So yeah. So basically, also, yeah, here's the next thing I wanted to say. I think I am seeing more ignorance now than before. And I see it in the comment section. I see it in public debate. And I see a celebration of this anti-intellectualism. And I think, oh yeah, something I forgot to say. Okay, if you go to the left-leaning people there, they have typically two things that tells me that even though they might seem intelligent, they are just as dogmatic as someone with a MAGA hat sitting there and doing this with his fist, just as dogmatic, just as stupid, it's the so-called safe and effective shot. That's one thing. And they have no criticism of that at all. And it's all safe. It's all safe. It's all good, if you know what I'm talking about. That tells me that they are just reading from a script. Well, some of them are as well. But it's like it's on their list of things that they have to believe. They widely exaggerate human, well, we don't know for sure, but it seems like they widely exaggerate how much human activity affects the climate. Now, I've said before many times that I do think that human activity affects the climate a lot, but they are. It seems like they are exaggerating that, and they have a very odd understanding of biology when it comes to gender and all of that. So they are just as dogmatic. So I just wanted to say that. Um, if you have an intellectual mind, if you have it's about having a curious mind, right? You learn to take all your emotions and put them somewhere else before you investigate a topic. Um, KP Hidan, we have a couple of trolls here. Chris Ricker says, "You LARP as a Viking and speak of others' waste of potential, LOL." We should just get rid of those people. We don't have time for that. Now, I think that, well, I can do it myself actually. Just some, let's see here. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I do not want to come across as someone who thinks that he's better than other people. What I'm trying to say is that this is not really about, it's not really about, it's not even about intelligence. It's about your attitude, I think. It's about KP, then that's okay. I got to it. It's about attitude, and I think that it's actually about keeping that childish attitude alive. And I will explain. Okay. If you have, kids, they are curious, right? And there's a reason why, at least in Norway, when you go to school, you start learning foreign. We typically learn 2 or 3 foreign languages here, and they start early. Um, yeah, I don't know. There are some troll activity here. Okay, but this just proves that when you talk about anti-intellectualism, there is hate. That's why I put the hate there. They hate the thinking man. They hate the thinking man. I think it comes from envy. But the thing is, we can all be the thinking man or woman. I should have put the woman there. You know what I mean. Because it's about keeping that childish attitude alive. There's a reason why why kids in school here start learning their second language very early, because they are like sponges when it comes to knowledge. They are curious, and they're not dogmatic in their thinking. And when you're not dogmatic in your thinking, you are open to knowledge. Um, so if we can all be a little bit more open to, the idea that we don't know everything. Actually, I think we know very little. I think human understanding of the universe and life and everything is very limited. That's what I think. Um, so we shouldn't think that we know it all. Um, and I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that Einstein was quite childish and playful. Um, Maybe we should be like that, uh, you know. So the hate towards the thinking man and the thinking woman, I think, comes from people who know that they do not possess that curious mind anymore. They feel threatened because they feel threatened by the thinking man and the thinking woman because they will question what they do. Typically, you will see people in positions of power using that power to shut down those who ask questions. We saw that during COVID, and they were called like, "Oh, you're conspiracy theorists." And I was almost removed completely from YouTube. And now what I said, what almost got me removed, is what should be common knowledge. It's something that governments have admitted. Um, and it's not only about that, of course, but it's like, you know, the regimes like, for instance, the one, well, Russia is an obvious example. But also in Turkey, you know, that little dictator Erdogan with the ugly mustache. Um, he had a journalist jailed now because he posted a image of Erdogan with a pride flag, or painted in the rainbow flag or something like that. Um, and when you now, Erdogan is an obvious dictator. I think we all understand that, but it's like, okay, they do not want people who criticize. They do not want people who challenge them. Um, so we are, of course, seeing this in the US of A now. It's not a good thing to. It's not pretty to watch, um, and you know, I think it's been commented on a lot. Other examples, China, of course. China has almost gotten the image of the good guy here in the trade war and all of that, which is ridiculous because it's a cruel, dystopian autocracy, where those who challenge the narrative are put in jail. You know, so before people are put in jail, before the autocracy really spreads its tentacles into every function of society, before that, you see anti intellectualism. Before that, you see censorship. And when it comes to the USA, I think it's been going on for quite some time. You certainly did see it during the Biden administration, and you are seeing it being ramped up now. And this has nothing to do with what you're not allowed to say. It has to do with the idea that they have a list of things that you are not allowed to say. It's not about what is on the list. It's the fact that they have that list. They have such a list. Now in the USA, I believe it's like you're supposed to report to the government if there's an anti-Christian bias in your workplace. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's the closest I can, the closest example, the closest to that I can think of is Eastern Germany, where you were supposed to report to the government if there was someone with a if you knew someone with a Western attitude. It's disturbing. It's disturbing. Um, and the irony is that it's happening in a country that prides itself on being uh, having, oh, you have all these freedoms. So, but the American people are strong. They are um, resilient, and I don't think they will accept it. I think that there will be a pushback. Um, yeah, Chrono, there. What you're seeing there, I don't know. Maybe sometimes these comments are ironic, but you're writing. All we need is a Bible, common sense, and a desire to learn. Yeah, that's the problem. You had to put the Bible there. Maybe you're being ironic, but this is like, no, you don't need a Bible. If you're not being ironic, um, you need common sense and a desire to learn, and you need free speech. Um, and if you're a Christian, you should read the Bible. Well, everyone should read the Bible, of course, and all the other important religious texts. Um, I think that's important. But the thing is that you are seeing this unfolding now in the USA, and it's happening really fast. They hate the thinking man. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. So, let's see here, with a little bit of fear and what's it called? Um, I'll look at the chat now. I'll scroll up a little bit. Yeah, that's interesting. Jeff Willis says people in the US tend to equate wealth with intelligence in all things and God's blessing. Yeah, that is interesting. And I think it has to do with, again, the fact that um, the USA was built by immigrants from nations with a class system, and they were obviously they felt it was very important to build up wealth. I think that is important, but wealth then came to equate how successful you are, for instance. But what is wealth? What is it? What is wealth? There is something called intellectual wealth, emotional wealth, um, we know the story about the rich man who is very unhappy because he only has his money, nothing else. And if he didn't have that money, nobody would care about him. Uh, let's see here. Calypso Kin says, "Are you talking about the UK?" We could talk about the UK, of course. That's disturbing what's happening there, and that has been happening there for a long time. But I left that out of this discussion today. But you're also asking, where in America is someone put in jail for their beliefs? Well, there are numerous examples now, and they're all trying to. When I mention those, the people are saying, "Oh no, that was because of something else." No, it fucking was not. People are hikers. I do hiking, and there are stories now, more and more stories about people from other countries coming to the USA, and they're stopped by in by the of government officials, government people, and put in jail because they've been critical about especially Israel, um, and kept in jail for. I mean, there's a Norway has issued a warning to us, the citizens, about going to the USA that basically says that if you go there, you have no rights because they're not following protocol. They're not respecting your rights as an individual. Um, so I can't go to the USA. I mean, I've been criticizing the murderers in the Israeli government quite a lot. Um, and I've been criticizing the current regime in the USA as well. And I will keep doing that. Thank you very much. Uh, um, so, no, Patricia, that is not misinformation. I wish it was. I have looked into those cases. No, uh, it really is not. But I do get that in, like, if you in certain news outlets and YouTube channels and so on, they try to portray those people as being guilty of something else. But no, it really is that bad. It really is that bad. So, um, let's see here. Yeah. So, lots of different comments here. Yeah, if I go to the USA, it would probably be okay. It would probably be okay. But the thing is that if they decide that it's not going to be okay, I will be in trouble because you have no rights and they will just keep you in a jail for, I don't know, weeks. And I would be a bit nervous in a country that wields, or the government wields, that amount of power over you. I don't like the idea of that. So let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Jeff. If you come here now, you could end up in an El Salvador prison. I know. I don't think that would happen, but if they decide that that's what's going to happen, then that will happen. Now, I've heard some crazy stories. I don't. There is a. There was this one guy, the most famous example. They say that because he had tattoos, he was seen as a gang member and sent to El Salvador. I kind of think there is. I don't. That there is more to that story, but I don't know. It just feels like there is more to that story. I'm not sure, but when it comes to these hikers, I mean, honestly, that's I mean, Terry got upset, needed to use capital letters here. Calm down, Terry. Your blood pressure might not. You should watch your blood pressure. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Jack the Track says, I would never go to the US now. Once it was a dream. Now it sounds like a nightmare. Yeah. I think. I think it's not going to last. I think the Americans will not accept it. And I think it's happening a little bit. The reason why it's happening fast is it's because the current regime, they just want things to be, they it's a shock tactic. They are making these changes now, and people are like shocked, or they don't know what to do about it. You know. Um, but I think that once um, yeah, I think it will be better in the future. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Um, yeah, Carola, hi there. Yes, Germany as well has a problem with free speech. In Germany, a journalist got 7 months for a meme he created with a politician where she held a sign in her hand saying, "I hate free speech." Yeah. It it seems like, contrary to popular belief, that I now live in one of the few countries left with free speech. I know if you listen to Fox News, they are telling you that, oh, in Norway, they put people in jail for saying that what's it, trans women? No, the one where uh, you know what, if you're born a man and you want to appear as a woman, and if you call that man a woman, no, if you call that man a man, that if you do that, you get put in jail here. Sorry, I get confused with all of that nonsense, but that's not true. You can do that, and you can come here and burn the Quran in the streets. That's fine. You can do that. So it's we do have free speech in Norway, except I will say that during COVID, the social fabric worked in such a way that you were, and I'm still feeling the effects of that. You were punished. You were punished for speaking out against the official narrative. Uh, let's see. Uh, I don't think you got what I said there, Jack. That track. We have it, but we don't. I'm telling you, we have free speech in Norway. I said you can come here, you can burn the Quran, you can call, is it called trans women? You can call them men. You can. I'm not saying that those things are good or right, or that's not the point here. I'm saying that you can do that here. You won't be put in jail for that. You can come here, obviously, and say that the Israeli government is, they are murderers, and you can say that Muhammad, that they call the prophet, was a gay pedophile, or whatever you want to say. You can say that. Well, I'm saying it now here in Norway. Um, and uh, actually, well, there was a law here. You couldn't criticize the king. But that's one of these laws that have no old laws that, of course, people are criticizing the royal family and the king, and it's completely fine. Um, yeah, okay. Fuck you. Okay. Oh, did I say that out loud? I was just thinking that someone here writes, you need to do a little more research about America politics. First of all, don't call it America, because America is like two continents, and you're talking probably about one of the countries in the northern of those two continents, sorry. And you keep going there, and we're not what you're hearing from legacy media. I've been doing this for a while, And you do not understand the amount of research that goes into this, into what I'm saying. I also have people helping me with that research. I know what I'm talking about. If you think that what I'm telling you here is based on legacy media, you are mistaken. And you should try to do better. Okay. So, yeah. Um, you can go and fondle yourself in a dark room or something like that, which I'm sure you will do anyway. Okay. So, um, yeah, why do I get upset when people write things like that? I get upset because I've spent quite a lot of time looking into things. And I will tell you that um, 90%, maybe 80, 90% of what I read is false. Legacy media, as you like to call it, has a little bit is a little bit better than the independent sources. I would say, I don't know, it is better when it comes to the credibility, but you can't trust it. When it comes to the things I'm being sent uh, every day, it's usually not true. Almost everything I'm being sent, links, information, and so on, it's based on false information and misinformation, which tells me that there are a lot of people being misinformed out there. um, uh, so let's see here. Yeah. Claude says, just follow the money and you'll see who's behind it. That's always a good advice. And it seems to be the rule that people are operating by. So, yeah, when it comes to the Vikings, the Norse who sailed across the ocean and discovered North America, we don't know how far south they traveled. We have a pretty good idea of why they went here. Timber and the extraction of iron, bog iron, which was back then also difficult to find on Greenland. They were traders. So we don't know how far south they went, but I'm kind of thinking, why would they stop if conditions improved the further south they got? Why? But we don't know. We don't know for sure. Um, but did they discover North America? I kind of, that's what we say. But if we think about it, isn't it more true to say that they were the first Europeans here, as far as we know? Here, no, there. But the people who discovered North America, that was those who. Now, there are different theories, but if we go by the theory that they crossed the Bering Strait, those were the people who discovered the Americas. I mean, some say that there were people who sailed across the Pacific and they were first. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Shining nocturnes. Yes, as you are writing there now, they also sailed through the Pacific before and even after the ice melted. Yeah. Um, um, yeah. So. mm, Yeah, the US against Norway. You know what? I think that this attempt that we are seeing now to pitch Europe as the scapegoat, and the idea that is this little creep JD Vance with his love making love to the sofa and all of that. These people are not normal. Fucking hell. I mean, they're not normal. It's quite disturbing. So I try not to think about it. Okay. Um, this idea that they're trying to sell now, they have to do that. Europe is bad. They are bad and weak and all of that. And the US of A, they are protecting. They are protecting Europe. And come on, look at the numbers. Um, you need some proper anti-intellectualism to believe in that. And that's why they are promoting anti-intellectualism. Um, but I don't think it will last. I don't think it will last because I have this. You might want to call it a naive idea. Let's call it a naive. Maybe I'm being naive, but I think the truth will prevail in the end. Um, and I really want to believe that truth will prevail. And it's like it's if you lie about something, it's stressful and difficult, isn't it? The truth is much easier to uphold because that's just the reality, right? So no, I don't think that, even though the current regime in the USA is trying to isolate the USA from the rest of the world, I don't think, financially and economically, it's not going to work. We are seeing that now in the numbers. So it's not, it's, no, no, I think that the West will come together again. Because it's been a very successful model, a collaboration, a very successful model, um, and yeah. Um, let's see here. Brain the DMG bar says it's not naive. Thank you. Truth will prevail in the end. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. And I saw this meme. You had this. Was it like a health minister or something? A guy in a dress, middle-aged guy in a dress. He was the health minister. Do you say health secretary? I don't know what it's called in the USA, but he said with Biden there, and it said this is why I lost to the Democrats, and I think that's kind of true. because you have a fat middle-aged guy in a dress being a health secretary, and it's like, come on, it's laughable, and yeah, that's why they lost. You know, Secretary of Health, yes, Secretary of Health. Um, yeah. Um, so um, okay. Yeah, and it's a again, we need to ask the right questions, and I need to also say this because I forgot to say it at the start of this live stream. As long as going to university, choosing higher education is in many countries reserved for, well, let's just say it as it is, the children of rich people. As long as it's like that, it shouldn't be seen as the only way. That it shouldn't be seen like those are the only intelligent people out there. Okay. Um, and also, not everyone has that kind of uh, personality that they will be happy with studying. It's not for everyone. It doesn't mean that you're less intelligent, if you don't go to university. And I think that intellectualism is not necessarily connected to your intelligence score. It's more, as I said, about having the ability and the will and desire to be curious and ask questions instead of just this blind faith in stuff that people tell you. Um, so, you know what I hate, and I'll just finish with this. I hate this new kind of journalism that where some guy or girl, some person sits there, a news anchor, telling you what to think. And I think that this guy, Tucker Carlson, he was the best and most watched of those people. You would see them, and you still see them on the left, on the right, and they will sit there and say things that are opinions, but it will be in the disguise of being the news. I don't like that. I think it's fine to do that like I'm doing it. I'm not pretending to give you the news here. I'm just talking into this microphone and we're having a discussion here, you know. But when they understood in these networks, these news networks, they understood that people do not want to hear your opinion. People want to hear their own opinion coming out of the mouth of someone else. And that's why they keep doing that. That's why they keep sitting there telling you why you should hate Trump. That's why they keep sitting there telling you why Norway is woke and uh, why Europe is the worst and all of that. It's that's why they do that, and it's so unethical because we need to try to do our best to think, to be curious, to ask questions. And we should try to be respectful to other people also. Uh, we don't know. unless you come here and you write in the chat here that I don't know anything. If you write that I don't know everything, that's fine. I know I don't know everything. Nobody does. But if you come here and you write you don't know anything, you're probably going to be kicked out because we don't need that. You know. Um, so um, let's see here. Yeah, you know, Trismegistus says, here's my glasses. That's why I left the church. I guess, yeah, I don't go to church. I've been kind of forced to go to church for like cultural occasions. The church is also a nice arena for you know cultural things. But you know, yeah, I don't know what it's like basically when it comes to the Christian thing. But yeah, I think that when religion becomes dogmatic, and let's face it, I mean, religion is kind of it's in its nature, it's dogmatic. Um, then at that point, it's not good for the individual, I believe. I think it's you can be a Christian and still have a curious mind. Of course, you can be a Christian and have without having a dogmatic way of thinking or not thinking. Um, and you know, so it's this when I criticize Christianity or Islam or religions, you know, it's the dogmatic version that I criticize. Um, but not all priests are like that. Not all um, congregations are like that, I guess. And I can tell you that uh, pagans are certainly not like that. There is no dogma. And I can summarize paganism for you. It's just being close to nature. Just feeling that you're part of nature. You connect with nature. That's it. All the other stuff is just symbols. It's like, well, important symbols, but it's not like a Norse pagan like myself. It's not like I believe that there's, even though it would be cool, it's not like I believe that there's an old man with a long beard and one eye sitting there in his golden hall with his warriors. Um, Again, it would be very cool. I hope uh, that is uh, that is where I go when I die. I hope, but it's that's an obvious vision of that time back then. You know, that would be, you know, like paradise, unlimited food and drink, and warm fire there in the longhouse and all of that. You know, we understand that that's an image of that time 1,000 years ago. So these symbols, although they are very important, and also there are rituals that some pagans follow, it's not dogmatic. Nobody will tell you that, oh, you didn't go to the Blut, oh, you're not a pagan then. No, no, you can do what you like. You can do what you like. That's and also there is no pagan will try to convert you into his or her belief system, because that goes against the whole idea, you know. Now, of course, back in the Viking Age, when this was more like institutionalized, it was different, of course. And we have at least one example of the chieftains adding pressure to the king. That was he was called Håkon, I believe, and he was forced to join the Blot, and that was institutionalized religion being used to wield power by the chieftains to show the king that he was not that almighty after all. So yeah, but now today it's not like that at all. It's not dogmatic. Um, uh, yeah. Oh, okay, there are on X basis pagans trying to convert Christians. Yeah, of course I can't speak for everyone. But I think at least if you try to convert people into a specific dogma that you perceive as your version of paganism, that then you do not understand paganism. You know, that's my opinion at least. Yeah, Gladys Kravitz Jr. says we are spirit. Yeah. Yeah, Shining Knocked Out says I met some stucco pagans. Yeah, gatekeeping. Yeah, you will see that. But I don't think that's the majority. So, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, just be in nature. Just be in nature. I'm completely open to all versions and all takes on this. And some people have in the past asked if can I be a Christian and a pagan? And I didn't really know what to say back then, because I that was a bit of a surprise. But now I'm like, do whatever you like. Do whatever you like. Who am I to say that you can't? Well, if that's something that you want, if that's you, then go ahead. I don't care. So um, so so let's see here. Okay. I have to end the live stream now. Now, there is a video from the Danish Outdoors Festival that will be uploaded on Saturday. So in 2 days. And it will be on the main channel. You will see more outdoors content on the main channel from now on. So it's linked to in the video description. So go and check that out. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. We will talk suddenly. Okay. Bye-bye.